Hey everybody, it's Dustin here. I am going to teach you the rules to Raiders of Idlemarsh. This is my entry into the 2022 Solitaire Print and Play Challenge. I had a lot of fun last year with Paperback Dungeon. As you can see, I haven't quite broken my habit of designing on paper bags. They're just too much fun to draw on. But I'm trying to tidy things up here. And you'll be getting a file that looks like this. It will have 8 cards, 8 card faces on it. You're going to cut it down the middle, then you're going to cut it down the middle again, then you're going to fold the quarters that remain and tape the edge so that you get 4 cards that are double-sided. I'm going to play with these just to teach you. To begin the game, you want to find a card that has no buildings on the one side. There will always be buildings on a side. Find one that has just trees and swamp and ponds, and you're going to place it that side up. Then to play, each turn I draw a card and then I attach it. Attaching works like this. I can attach whichever side up I want to, so long as I can match the icons on that side to the icons on the card below it. I need to match at least 2 icons or I face a penalty. If I match 3 icons, I get a benefit. So let me show you. Here's 2 trees. Trees can match any other tree. So here's a swampy tree, here's another tree, and you'll see trees always look a little different. There's a tree, there's a tree, there's a tree. It would be boring if all trees looked the same. But all trees match other trees, and all ponds, here's one, match other ponds. There's a pond, there's a pond. The city ponds also match the marsh ponds. Pond, pond, pond. All ponds match, all trees match. Buildings are another story. If I want to match a building to another building, say for example, there, I would have to find another castle. Castles must match castles. Windmills must be matched with windmills. These guard towers match other guard towers. You have houses must match other houses. Double houses must match other double houses. 4 towers must match other 4 towers. And single towers, where are they? Must match other single towers. Farms must match other farms. You can see some of them have different animals, but that doesn't matter. They like to farm turtles a lot here in the marsh. So let's begin the game. I'll play really quickly. Oh, and people cannot be used for matching. The goal of the game, ultimately, is to build a town that has as many farmers and guards in it as possible, and as few raiders as possible. Raiders always have triple spiky helmets. See? Guards always have a cross on their helmet. Farmers always have a pitchfork. People cannot be used in matching, and raiders cannot be covered up while you're matching unless you meet a certain criteria. So let me show you how that works and what the criteria are. I'm going to attach this one. I don't have any icons that match perfectly. I have a few that match. See, there's a tree and there's a tree. But in order to match correctly, they need to match side by side. And they need to touch. So these 2 trees are situated in such a way that I can completely cover the ones below them. And the icons are touching the icons that they match. It's important. That's a correct match. But I did see on the city side a tree and a pond side by side. So there's a tree and there's a pond. Those 2 don't match, see, because the tree's over here and the pond's here. They would overlap, but they wouldn't touch the icon that they're matching. If I were to turn it though, then the pond would overlap and touch. The tree would overlap and touch. There we go. That's a legal match. And now I've just built my first city tile. You don't really need to know the difference between a city side of the card and a swamp side of the card. It doesn't affect gameplay, other than the fact that cities tend to have more guards. Please ignore the construction outside. And swamps tend to have more raiders. So that's the first rule of attaching. You match two icons to attach, and you may not cover raiders. You can cover up as many farmers and guards as you like, because that doesn't really benefit you. That would just hurt you. Raiders, though, covering them up benefits you a whole lot, so you have to meet a special requirement to cover them up. In order to legally cover up a raider, I have to match 3 icons, and he has to be underneath the card that I'm placing. So I see 3 trees right here. Let's say I wanted to place this card. And I see 3 trees right there, and it looks like, see, if I cover this up, all the matching icons touch the icon below them, and I can completely cover them and also cover up the guard that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to do that. You have to cover the icons completely. None can be poking out from underneath. And you can't overlap any part of any other icon. So I've just matched 3. That allowed me to cover up the raider. Unfortunately, there's another raider here, and he kind of replaced the one I just covered. Let's say I'm going to build again. If I wanted to cover him, I couldn't do it because, see, I could match 2 icons here. I could match this tree with this tree, and they are touching the icon below them. So I could, in theory, place this here, except I'm not legally allowed to cover up that guard unless I had a 3rd tree or a 3rd other icon that matched. Then I would be granted permission. So I'm going to have to find another way to attach this in another place. Here's 2 trees. I could legally attach that here. Doesn't help me much because see how many raiders are on here? Every time I put down a marsh, I'm making the game harder for me. So ideally I want to find matches for my city tiles. It's much harder to match the city tiles. I've got a house here and there's a house. If there were a tree on this card, then I could match a house into tree, but I don't have one. There's a single tower. I don't have a single tower, so I'm not going to. And there's a castle that matches, but pretty easy for me to find trees that match, so I'm going to do that. There, my swamp is growing, and the raiders are really taking over. See how many there are. Next turn. Ooh, see, there's a house and a tree, but they're swapped. They don't match. These 2 might be able to match the house and tree. Nope. Okay, the house and tree don't match. There's a house and a tree. I can't place this without covering some part of the other icon. No, almost, but not quite. Almost, but not quite. I can't find a legal way to place this, so let's check out the city. There's a tower. Cool. But no other towers. This has a lot of single towers, and I only have the one. It also has a castle. I've drawn the castles like this, but I decided to draw them like this eventually. There are no trees near this castle, so I can't match that. So I've run into a situation where I have no matches. Here is the rule on that. If you cannot find 2 matches, then you must. If you cannot find 2 icons that match to place your card, then you have to attach the card to one icon. You can attach it to any. It doesn't have to be a matching one like that. It could be this, but you must, if possible, cover up as many guards and farmers as possible. I don't have any guards showing, so I have to cover up that farmer, and I have to choose the icon that allows me to cover the farmer. And if possible, I have to choose a building. Excuse me. There are no buildings that I could attach to that would allow me to cover up that farmer. So I'm just going to attach to the pond right here. There. So I cover up one icon and as many farmers and guards as possible. Oh. And I must place it swamp side up. So here's where eventually I will have the marsh, or swamp, whatever you want to call it. I will have the marsh be a different color than the city. So the city's going to have some like gray gravel. The marsh is going to have some marsh grass, yellow. If I am not able to match two icons, then I must place it marsh side up. I must attach to the icon that allows me to cover as many farmers and guards as possible, and I've done that right here. This is the marsh side. I can tell it's the marsh side because this side's covered in buildings. That's the city side. This has less buildings and it has the unpaved pond. So I'm going to do that. I'm attaching right there, covering up as many as possible. That was unfortunate. You can see my city is slowly turning back into marshland. I'm not doing well this game. This is a pretty poor planning on my part because I can't really strategize and teach at the same time. So I've taught you matching. I've taught you the rules for when you are and aren't allowed to cover up raiders. I've taught you the rules for what happens when you can't make any matches. That's pretty much the whole game right there. It's going to keep growing. I'm just going to throw some cards down here and we'll pretend like a game has been played so I can teach you scoring. Just throwing cards down randomly, not adhering to the rules here. All right, let's say I've built my entire city, cover up a few. It's going to expand into usually it's not a very pretty pile, but every once in a while you get something that looks really cool. I wrote all the rules on the cards. There. Oh, that's not. Okay, let's just ignore that one. Okay. Scoring. You get 2 points for every guard, -3 points for every raider, and you get +1 point for every farmer that is nearest to a guard, -1 point for every farmer that is nearest to a raider. So let's go through and score this really quick. -3 minus -6. We'll do all the raiders first. -9, -12, 15, 18, -21, 24. I think I messed up somewhere, but that's okay. -24, we'll say. Then we count the guards. Maybe I don't have any guards showing. I did a very poor job. Oh, here's 2, so that brings us, oh, and here's another one. So 2, 4, that brings us to -20. We've scored -20 points so far. Are there any farmers? Here's a farmer and he's nearest to a raider. Here's a farmer, he's nearest to a raider. That's all our farmers, so that's -2 points. So we're back to -22. I scored -22 points here. It's a hard game. If you don't chase out those raiders quickly, they really add up. You really struggle to build a city, any city at all, and they will turn your farmers into negative points for you. That's the whole game. I hope you have fun with it. There is a lot of strategy once you start to understand some of the composition and placement. I haven't quite figured out how much strategy there is. I like games that have emergent strategy, and I like games that are really simple, and this one's a little bit of both. It might be too simple, I'm hoping I can find some kind of mechanic to juice it up a bit. It would be really cool if I could think of a variant where you have pieces that move around from card to card and do something. That would make it much more interesting, but for a simple little 18 card game, I think this is pretty fun. I don't know a lot of games that let you build a little pile like this, maybe because it's not that cool, but I have made one that does it, so tell me what you think, and reach out if you have any trouble with the rules about overlapping and matching. Thanks. Bye-bye.